A major development tonight in a City News investigation into suicide on the police force. Chief Bill Blair has been told by his boss that he wants some answers by Friday. Avery Haynes now with an exclusive follow-up to her series, When the Blue Line Flatlines. Avery.
Well, thank you, Roger. And these are the two now very public faces of suicide on the Toronto Police Service. Their deaths just 4 months apart have sparked concerns as well as criticism of the way police deal with mental illness on the force. Tonight, a deadline for answers.
Sergeant Bucky Rogers hung himself last month. Just 4 months earlier, Constable Clint Sibulus died the very same way. And now City News has learned the chair of the Police Services Board, the man who is Chief Bill Blair's boss, is demanding in-depth answers. The deadline, Friday.
What I've asked the chief to provide is a great deal of information, not only on those two, but more going further back in time, because I think one death is too many.
The families of both officers have been critical of the way Toronto Police Service handles issues of mental illness in the rank and file.
They suspended him, took his badge and his gun that Friday evening and sent him home.
Friday, March 14th, Constable Clint Sibulus was pulled out of his platoon, accused of sending a harassing video to a female officer.
And did police say to you that he was offered any counseling after he was suspended?
Never offered nothing. You knew he was in trouble and he was so dedicated an officer. Wouldn't there be some type of counseling for him there? They said no, he never asked for any help.
Toronto police refused to answer questions about the events leading up to the suicide, but tell City News they have spoken in detail with Clinton's mother and made it clear that she should feel free to call anytime.
That never happened. There was I'll get back to you, we'll get back to you, or it's under investigation. There was never any answers to anything, which was wrong.
Adding to the family's pain, a perplexing decision by police to refuse Linda Sibulus's request to read her own son's suicide note.
Imagine something so profound, like you can never get that back. It's like he never existed.
Citing privacy reasons, police say it was addressed to someone else. We don't believe we have the authority to release it to Mrs. Sibulus.
Why do you feel that you need those things?
Closure. You know, it's sort of like up in the air. I'll never see him again.
This woman's 5-month battle to see her dead son's final words is about to end.
It'd be nice to get his personal items back so you can know what's going on, maybe.
The coroner, now investigating her son's suicide, is about to do what Toronto police claim they could not: share Clint's suicide note.
Can you make that happen?
Yes, we have that documentation available to us, and we could release it to the family.
The coroner's office issued a warrant to Toronto police to take custody of Clint's suicide note, personal computer, and cell phone. Dr. Edwards expects their investigation to last up to 8 months.
One of the things we would look at in that regard would be whether we could develop recommendations to prevent future deaths. It takes time.
Meanwhile, the family of Sergeant Bucky Rogers, who died by suicide last month, has just filed a request for a provincial inquiry into his death.
There are things they need to know about what's not happening and the help they can't get that they need. And somebody needs to do something about that and force change. Because they can maybe ignore us, but they would have a harder time ignoring recommendations made after an inquest.
The Rogers family says before his suicide, Bucky tried for more than a year to get help, but was instead ridiculed, bullied, and humiliated by his supervisors.
This cannot happen to anyone else. They have to make some changes.
And that's the precise goal of these two separate coroner's investigations, as well as this newly ordered report from the chief.
When the chief delivers this report to you on Friday, what do you hope you find in there?
I'm paying attention to whether there are any gaps in the supports that we have in place, and if I've reached the conclusion that there's more that we can be doing, it will be something that I'll be bringing to the board.
Bucky Rogers' widow, meanwhile, will continue to demand answers on her own. She scheduled a meeting with the chief of police for next month.
I am doing this for him and for every other person out there that needs help.
Now, the coroner can either make recommendations on how to prevent further deaths or it can order a full-blown inquest. Linda Sibulus, meanwhile, will finally be given access to her son's suicide note by later this week. Our full series, When the Blue Line Flatlines, is up on our website, and you can reach out to me on this or any other story on Twitter. I'm @CityAvery.